All right. I want to say non-exclusive. All right, that makes sense. All right. Getting started early in the morning. All right. Messing up my desk. I appreciate that. All right. Oh, I did that, but it's not even showing up. Go over here and fix that. All right. What they are 10 milligram loratadines, and they do me pretty well. They knock me out. Once I wake up, I'm usually fully recovered, but not so much today. But I'll be all right once my levels get back down to normal. A lot of pollen in the air, and that adds to my difficulties. But I want to come on this morning and talk a little bit about NFL free agency. NFL teams got a bit of a surprise yesterday. The salary cap, which went up from 225 to 255 last year, is now going to go up to somewhere between 277 and 281, which is on average about another $25 million. That is huge for teams with tight lines, and they can now go out and spend a little bit more money to try to improve their rosters. The hot topics this year is going to be improving those offensive and defensive lines, and maybe get a quarterback. What this extra money does is allow teams to maybe get an extra quarterback that they wouldn't normally be able to pay for, but that extra $25 million makes a huge difference when it comes to trying to get extra players. Amy Hamilton says, "Hello, how you doing? Hello." I guess you're trying to say hello, but you say hello. But that gives these teams extra money to play with to go get, they can stockpile players that, they wouldn't normally be able to get. And one of the subjects, what kind of tag should you put on players that you're trying to re-sign that you have not re-signed yet? NFL's got several different designations of free agents. One of them is, of course, the franchise tag. You want to put a franchise tag on a guy that you don't really want to pay just yet, but you want to keep him on the team. And when you get hit with the franchise tag, then you are basically getting the average of the 5 highest paid players at your position, or up to 120% of your salary. If you are transition, then you can get up to 10%, the average of 10, and also up to 120% of your salary. And the transition tag, as you can see, is a little bit less for teams to pay than it would be the franchise tag. Right now, the Chiefs, Trey Smith, the lineman, he's in that position. The Chiefs don't want to franchise him because right now I believe the highest paid lineman is like $20 million. And with the cap, it's going to put it up to like $25 million. They don't want to pay him that. So what they're talking about doing is putting a transition tag on him. If they do that, he can still talk to other teams, and the Chiefs get a chance to match. If the Chiefs don't match and he's non-exclusive, then the Chiefs are going to get draft choices from whoever decides to sign him. So it's a win-win really for the franchise. You're going to underpay the guy, and then if he signs with somebody else, you stand to get some compensation for losing that player. So the player doesn't really gain in that situation, but it's still an awful lot of money to be out there playing a child's game, and they're going to try to play as long as they can. But the real free agency is going to hit, I think, March 4th. Right now, everybody's jockeying for position, but you won't see any real signings until next month. So we'll be looking forward to that. Not a whole lot going on. NBA basketball, I think they restarted last night. And that race is for jockeying for position in the playoffs. That's going to heat up, as well as college basketball. Talked about it yesterday. Some teams are dealing with a rash of illness. Illinois is one of them. They got a pretty good team, but they're so ravaged by illness right now, they don't know who they're going to be able to put on the floor. Now, they went to Wisconsin the other day, and they were really in bad shape. They ended up losing that game by more than what it would have been if they had been at full strength. But the good thing about it, that it's a tough part of the schedule for them. But once they get over this illness, they're going to be okay. But they got to get by Duke this weekend, having some kind of thing up in Madison Square Garden where I don't know if it's the ACC Big Ten Challenge or what, but Illinois is going to take on Duke in Madison Square Garden. And that's a tall order, because right now, Duke just might be the best team in the country. I took a look at Auburn last night. They're all right. They're ranked number 1 for 6 straight weeks now, so they're going to be a tough out. But as I look at Duke, that guy Cooper Flagg, that look on his face and determination to make some plays, he's going to be hard to beat. And I think as you get deep into the tournament, that one player that can outshine everybody else is going to make all the difference in the world. And it happens every year. Last 2 years has been Purdue's Zach Edey. Nobody can do anything with him. They ain't having trouble with him in the NBA. Cooper Flagg, he's that kind of player. He's definitely going to go to the pros. He's already slashing and dishing like they do in the league now. So you can just imagine what he's going to be like in a couple years when he really figure out what he can do. But I saw him the other day against Virginia. They got a steal, and the big fella down low, he went up on big fella like he was going to dunk on him. And that look of determination on his face let you know that he didn't care who it was. He's going to try to dunk on him. Just so happened the big fella got a hand on it, but he was letting the big fella know, look here, every time I get it, I'm going to jam on you. And that's the kind of player that's going to take his team deep into the playoffs. All right, let's see. I said Amy. Wanda Fio says hi. JC says good morning. I was just messing with you, Amy. I know what you were saying, but hello. Okay, does the cap keep all NFL teams on an even playing field as far as salaries? Yes, they all have the same amount of money they can spend. Now, I don't know what the penalties are if you go over the salary cap. I never heard much talk about that. But you just take a team like Pittsburgh with these 2 quarterbacks, Wilson and Fields. You know, quarterbacks are highly paid now, and if they were going to keep both quarterbacks, then they will have more money that they can spread around to keep those guys. So that's where the salary cap comes in handy. But the cap is really there to protect the owner's profits. Because you take a guy like Jerry Jones, what would stop him from paying a quarterback $100 million when everybody else is around the $50 million? He's going to get all the best players if he can pay for all of them. Now, would he do that? No, you know, Jerry's not going to do that. But if you get to the point where you're paying so much in salaries and then you don't make the money on the back end, so you have a losing record and your fans stop coming to the game, your merchandise is not selling, then you're going to lose money. But if you cap it, now you're pretty much guaranteed to make money. So that's what the league is doing, pretty much trying to protect itself. And for the leagues that didn't have salary caps, they had financial troubles. If you notice, NFL hasn't had financial troubles for years. And that's because even if Jacksonville, they don't sell any tickets, and Green Bay, they sell out every year, and Dallas sell out every year, and the Jets, they don't do anything. Well, all that money goes into one pot. And at the end of the year, they divide it all up. That revenue sharing is what has pretty much made the NFL what it is today. All right. But the question is, the salary cap necessary? Half of you say it is. I agree, because without the salary cap, you would have 1 or 2 teams dominating and everybody else falling by the wayside. Take baseball, for instance. The Yankees always been known for having deep pockets. And because they had the deepest pockets, they can go out and get most of the better players. And of course, if you got the better players, you're going to win. Doesn't matter so much about coaching. It comes down to playing. Now, you have to have a coach that put everything together and set the structure, but it's the players during the game that makes all the plays. And if the Yankees had all the players, the Yankees were going to make deep runs. And it's kind of leveled off lately. And I'm not quite sure if the Major League Baseball, if they have salary cap. I know they had to make a lot of changes from the last strike that they had, because they were on the verge of losing a lot of teams that way. And small market teams like Oakland, they weren't doing so well. That's why the A's and other small markets are trying to get away, because they don't make that much money in those small markets. So salary cap is a big deal if you want your leagues to survive. And which is another reason why I keep an eye on this new ladies basketball league. I forget what it's called, but it's a severe challenge to the WNBA because they're paying the players a lot more money than what the WNBA is playing. And they have little creative things like one-on-one tournaments where you can see your best players go one-on-one with somebody else. It's not a team thing, but it's an asset of it that gets eyeballs to see who is the better player. You know, you could be a great player on a good team, an average player on a great team, and people think you better than what you are. But if you got one-on-one, you can't get very far because you don't match up very well. Case in point, that guy Anthony Davis, the trade bait that the Mavericks got from the Lakers. And he was in college. He got dominated by that dude from Iowa State. But we never heard of the guy from Iowa State anymore because he had a problem with getting on airplanes. That's the only reason why he's not dominating the NBA, because he couldn't get on planes, some kind of phobia or something he had. They would have had to Mr. T me, man. Knock me out or do something. Don't tell me how I got there. Just get me to the arena. And I think that's what they should have done with him. But they didn't do that. And he wasn't trying to help himself. So he missed out on all those millions because of that phobia that I think they could have been overcome. But that's another story. So I think that league is going to do pretty well if they can keep the funding going. But normally when there's a challenge from upstart leagues, the established leagues will try to find a way to blow it out of the water. Again, take the USFL back in the 80s. They would have been fine if they stayed at a spring league. But when they tried to step into the fall, is when they ran into the challenges from the NFL. Not that the NFL was necessarily right, but the NFL had deep pockets that they could keep going to court and going to court. And the other guys, they didn't have those deep pockets like that as a league. And that was the difference. Otherwise, some of these teams that you see in the USFL might have been absorbed into the NFL or some other kind of arrangement to keep that league going. But that was a good concept they had, and it gave players an extra avenue to try to show their professional talents. But the salary cap, $280 million, that is an awful lot of money. And they got creative ways to put it on the back end and make the numbers work. And this is the reason why quarterbacks are making $50 million. And the next quarterback round, he's probably going to make $300 million. Not a year, but over a contract, just like what they're talking about in the NBA. The next TV contract that they sign, that's going to make way for possibly the first $1 billion player. You might sign $100 million over 10 years, but that's still $1 billion. And it's coming. And you might well get ready for it because the TV contracts is just going to make it worse. Now, speaking of TV, as you know, the college football playoffs, no, I can't get into that because I don't have a whole lot of time. But that's a topic for another day. The SEC and the Big Ten are pretty much in the driver's seat of how these new college football playoffs are going to unfold. They're going to take the lion's share of the money, and they're already talking about making changes to the seedings because the poor SEC didn't get as many teams as they thought they would get. But they did get the top teams out of the SEC last year, and they didn't do so well in the playoffs. So I guess they're going to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing until half the playoff seedings is the SEC, and that'll guarantee them at least a semifinal team. Perhaps they'll be happy with that, but I think it's a problem if you got two conferences controlling everything, and that is not a good thing for the sport because they were talking about breaking off from the NCAA and doing their own thing, pretty much strong-arming everybody else. But you might be the strongest now, but it doesn't mean they're always going to be that way. So when the tables shift on them, they ain't going to like it very much. But right now, they got the controlling block, and how long that's going to last, I don't know. But I think something's going to happen to upset that apple cart. But that's the topic for another day. But I just wanted to come on and mention that the salary cap for the NFL is going up to about 280 million, and that's going to make a difference about the last one or two players that you're trying to add to your team. And when you got the extra money, you can pay that as opposed to not being able to get them because you're a couple $1,000,000 short. For example, Jerry Jones talking about they didn't have enough money to pay all their players and have a Derrick Henry. Well, the salary cap went up to $255 million. You weren't going to try to pay the top running back anyway, but he could have found enough money to get Henry paid. He just didn't want Henry. He wanted a guy that already played for the organization that he knew, and he was already a Cowboy. And that was the second time he passed on Henry. And that's why Henry ran over him last time they played. And he's going to run over him again because Jones continually makes the wrong decisions over key personnel. But that's his team. He's making billions. So what does he care about what we think? But that's just my thought on that. But again, I apologize for the wheezing and the whining and the sneezing and all that. But if you guys have food allergies or pollen allergies, run by Walmart and get you some of these Equate pills, man. It's loratadine. Knock it right out. It might put you to sleep, but when you wake up, you'll be just fine. So anyway, this has been Sports for Real with Coach Hall. I call this the AM Sports Bite. And come on every morning about 6:30 to about 7:05, right up until the time that I got to go to work. So until I don't have to go to work no more, I'm out. So you guys have a great day. Appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Share me a little bit. That'd be great. Got a Cash App, but you have to go to the description to get that. Let me see what else we got here. ESPN says Rodgers might be going to the Steelers. You know what, JC? That might not be a bad idea, but he's going to have to come off the bench. With what Jalen Hurts did, that opens the door for Justin Fields, and I think they're going to have to make some kind of concession to keep him. Otherwise, he might be replacing Rodgers in New York. So that's something to watch. But as far as this poll goes, is a salary cap necessary for the NFL? Half of you say it is, and I think I agree because it keeps the competitive balance pretty much even. Everybody's spending the same kind of money, and it's just a matter of what you're really willing to pay each individual player. As long as it adds up to below the cap, then you're good. And it's going to go up every year because the TV money is going up every year. And if you come to Jacksonville, you're going to pay $20 for a beer, and they sell them like hotcakes. As long as they can do that, the money's going to keep flowing, and the salary cap's going to go up, and players are going to be making more and more money. So you, the fans, you're paying for it, and that's just the way it is. So until next time, I catch you guys on the flip side. This has been Sports Bite with Coach Hall. Sports for Real. Till next time, we're out. Have a great day.